from Brisbane, 7 News with Sharon Goodella.
Good evening.
Live from Sydney, 7 with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening, Scott Morrison.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening, Anthony Albanese.
This is 7 News with Angie Asimus.
Good morning. There's been a tragedy at...
This is 7 News with Ann Sanders.
Good morning. The 17-year-old...
Live from the Gold Coast, 7 News with Amanda Abate and Steve Titmus.
Good evening. First to breaking news.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Kendall Gilding.
Good afternoon. Our top stories this Monday. Albo's blunder.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Rick Arden and Susanna Carr.
Good evening. We begin tonight with what could become a test case in court over bullying.
Hello, I'm Samantha Jolly. It's 4 o'clock and these are our top stories in Perth this afternoon. Albo's blunder, the Labor leader for... After months of phony...
This is 7 News with Rob Bruff.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News with Mike Smithson.
Good evening. There's a warning tonight that...
This is 7 News Adelaide with Gertie Sperling.
Good afternoon.
Live from Melbourne, this is 7's Afternoon News with Mike Amor.
Good afternoon.
Adelaide's Morning News with Gertie Sperling starts now.
Good morning. First to a developing story, and COVID authorities are about to announce major changes to mask rules in South Australia. The Premier and Professor Spurrier will provide an update any minute now, following a meeting of the Emergency Management Council. We'll take you there live. But first to Kimberly Pratt. Kim, it's expected masks will be gone by Easter.
That's right, Gertie. That is responsible.
And we're taking you live now to an update on mask rules in South Australia.
Okay. Good to go. All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us here at the State Administration Centre. I'm very glad to be here this morning with the Health Minister, Mr Chris Picton, as well as the Chief Public Health Officer, Professor Nicholas Spurrier. Situations, and they're continuing. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Health Minister Chris Picton ending that COVID update. So just recapping, from Good Friday, mask mandates will be scrapped in South Australia. The face coverings are no longer mandatory except in high-risk settings such as hospitals, aged care facilities and on public transport. A decision on whether masks will be required in schools in Term 2 will be decided in the coming weeks. And finally, QR codes have also been abandoned except in hospitals and aged care. We'll have comprehensive coverage in our bulletins at 4 and 6. Bye for now.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Tina Altieri.
Good morning.
This is 7 News with Sally Bowery.
Good morning. We begin with breaking news.
Good morning. We're standing by to take you to a live news conference where AFL Chief Executive Gil McLachlan is announcing he will step down. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown joins me while we wait for that to start. And Tom, is this a surprise?
Good morning, Mike. It's not necessarily a surprise. I asked Richard Goyder, the Commission Chairman, about this recently at a press conference. Also asked Gil McLachlan one-on-one, and both couldn't commit to Gil being around beyond this year. So shortly, Gil will announce he's stepping down at the end of this year. The clubs were informed, the club presidents at 10:30 this morning, the AFL staff at 11 o'clock a short time ago. But the crux of the matter is that everyone knows that Gil's the best person for the job. He won't be easy to replace. He's got an incredible legacy, which we'll discuss shortly. But at the end of the day, Gil's been there for 8 years. And I'm sure at his age, which is close to 50, he might now want to look at other lucrative opportunities or challenges, having invested so much in keeping footy going particularly during COVID.
Yeah, we're told he's less than a minute away, so I'll stick with you for a second, but bring that announcement as soon as it happens. We spoke about his legacy. Quickly, what will his legacy be in those 8 years?
Well, COVID, the AFL didn't have to rely on the $600 million facility. The AFLW, we pressed the accelerator on that quicker than they would have liked to go to get it up and running so successfully. He loves community footy and understands the balance and importance of community footy, and that's really important because he's balanced the traditions of the game in terms of the rules against the future, and he's got everyone's trust. It's very hard to replicate with the broadcasters, including Seven, obviously, the government, supporters, the players, the clubs, and he got everyone on board at the start of COVID, said let's all take a bit of a cut, we'll get through this, and he did it spectacularly, really saving footy as we know it.
Again, we just think it's a few seconds away, this announcement, but before we let you go, likely successor, there's a big list, isn't there?
Well, you've got to ask yourself firstly whether it should be internal or external. Internal, Travis Auld and Andrew Dillon will be discussed. There's mixed support for those guys in clubland. Outside, Brendan Gale would be the leading candidate. 244 games, a lawyer at Mallison's, a top law firm, ran the Players Association and won 3 flags against the odds and set his sights on that at Richmond. It's an incredible CV. There'll also be discussion about, for example, Jane Herdlicker, who is obviously very prominent at Tennis and Virgin, and also Christine Holgate. But I think Richard Goyder and the Commission will make the decision and they'll go for the best candidate.
And there's some challenges ahead. We mentioned COVID. We're still coming out of the COVID effect.
We're still being affected by COVID. There's obviously concussion challenges in terms of, for example, that story we had with John Platten last night. There's the Tasmanian decision this year. And there's also a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement to negotiate with the players that Gill, I imagine, will steer this year. And that will set up football for AFLW and AFL Men's for at least the next 3 to 5 years. So Gill's still got a number of challenges this year, and his successor no doubt will have challenges as well. But generally speaking, the game is in incredible shape, Mike, considering where we've been with COVID, courtesy of Gill's contribution.
We're going to show you inside AFL House now. You can see the media getting ready for Gil McLachlan to make his announcement. We still haven't seen him yet, and we're keeping a close eye on that. We've got Tom Brown, Chief Football Reporter. Tom, there is a push for perhaps the first woman CEO as well?
Yeah, I've spoken to a prominent and influential club president. There's Laura McLachlan and the kids coming in as we speak.
Here we go. I'm going to interrupt you. We can see Gil McLachlan walking in with his family, about to make the announcement that he's leaving as AFL CEO. Here he is now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Apologies for all the missed calls in the last couple of hours. Richard is going to open, followed by Gil, and then we're happy to take some questions. So, over to Richard.
Well, thanks, Jay, and welcome everyone. And can I particularly welcome our special guests, Laura and Edie and Cleo and Sydney and Luna.
Model that it will actually then kind of.
And that's where we'll leave the news conference there. Gil McLachlan standing down after 8 years. Stay on 7. We'll have updates throughout the afternoon and special coverage in our bulletins at 4 and 6.